1 full month. This is the 4th chapter of Zipman, and the thing that's most consistent about it, like every single chapter, when something's like introduced, like whenever you get series in their early state, their whole kind of premise, what the authors want to do, is just get you to understand like the layout of the world. Like, what is the main character like? What are the what's the world and the premise like? What exactly is the story going to kind of be rotating around? And we already know about Zipman and these zipper technology, like robot, like it's super enhancement suits. Main character's brother died, sort of. He got his brain kind of like absorbed into the suit that they wear. But last chapter, we got the whole introduction that like, oh, there are these like zipper like add-on weapons that you can put on your suit and get some form of attachment. Oh well, cool. Like a giant steam-powered like extra large rocket punch. I mean, that was really cool. And in this chapter, there's a whole explanation of why the people wear these suits and what about them is, what about them are they trying to kind of accomplish while not giving us the most part of it. And I just really liked that premise. I really liked the aspect that the author is designing of the powers, like the layout, like what exactly is going to be the reason why some of these characters have these suit designs. And it doesn't seem like it's just going to be, oh, well, cool designs. Because I imagine there's going to be a lot of, just general, created in-verse ones that are originally author, but given this chapter, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of references. I never looked into Cutie Charm. I don't know if that's a Zipman original character or if that's like an actual character from Japan, but as it is, like they closed in on that guy. They managed to undo his suit and expose him. It's this dude. I thought it was gonna be a chick or like some big like weirdo nerdy guy, but it's just some dude who seems to be a fan of Cutie Charm, the character, and he really wanted to be the character. And like during all this, like there's some like talk about like, oh well, that's surprising. I didn't expect this to be Cutie Charm. The guy's like, there's nothing wrong with the guy wanting to be Cutie Charm, and they have this whole kind of like conversation about like, essentially they're trying to prevent him from being what he wants, but at the same time he's not really being who exactly the character he's portraying, because Cutie Charm wouldn't attack somebody that isn't her enemy. You wouldn't go around just like, trying to assault and capture and potentially kill random citizens. That's something that bad guys would do, what villains would try and accomplish. And I like that aspect of the villains having this weird kind of like identity crisis and their suits. All the ones with at least of the characters that are going to be references, but really just them in general. They're going to be something about their motives. There's something more about what they long to be. Not exactly who they are, but what they wish they were. And there are some reference characters. I actually really like the first ones we see in the chapter when they're discussing it. The guy is like, there's a lot more powerful members of this organization, and they're going to be coming after you soon. And some of the characters that you can kind of see is, there looks to be Devilman, and there's Optimus Prime, and there's Son Goku, not Dragon Ball Goku, like the original character from Journey of the West. But I really like that idea, because, references are fun. As long as you don't overdo it, references are very fun, especially when, it's like, oh, well, some people didn't catch it, it just kind of slips past them, and you're one of the people that got it. It's a nice little extra, high five from the author. I'm curious if the dinosaur is just going to be some form of T-Rex, or if it's like somehow like a kaiju reference, like Godzilla or something. And then the character with all the arms, is that supposed to be like Ishnu, or I'm pretty sure that's the character with all the arms, or is it maybe is his name pronounced Netero Isaac from Hunter x Hunter? He's a popular character. It could be him. Either way, there's a lot of fun reference characters in there. And I'm going to really like to see more of them make their appearance and exactly why. Because it's not going to be like... It comes automatically with some form of question. Because now that we know these characters, whether their suit designs are original to the series, or if they're, a reference to something, there's automatically going to be the question of, why is this the character that you want to be perceived as? Why is this the persona that that you're going to represent? I really like that aspect, because it gives some just some nice little theories automatically anytime any of these characters shows up. Like we got with the cutie charm guy, he just really liked the character. He was a fan of the character. He wanted to play her, and even like Kaname, he's like, listen, man, a guy version of cutie charm isn't it's not a bad thing. It could be cool, and you did really well on your performance. You knew all the attacks and whatnot. So I'm sure you practiced a lot, and it reminds him, just remember that the character would never just attack a random citizen, wouldn't attack somebody that isn't her enemy, because otherwise she's like a dark version. And when you speak to somebody, I think that there's a whole different kind of conversation having than when you just talk to them in general versus when you connect with them on where the subject is. Like, as somebody just in general, it's like, say for instance, new game came out like recently, the new Pokemon game. Some people will just play that straight until they finish it, try and see how fast they can beat the game. And there can be like, it could be bad for them, because sometimes when you play a game too much and you're too obsessed with it, it can be bad for your health. Like, there have been people that have died some of these like super long time like overclock streams and whatnot, overplaying, no breaks. You could just try and like explain it to them in like a sense that you hope they understand, but there's a whole different kind of like message across when you connect them at a level like that would resonate for them. Something that it's like, oh well, a character in said thing that you're so obsessed with, they wouldn't do this because of X, Y, and Z. It's a whole different kind of like synchronization between understanding for the character, which I like. I thought that was really neat. And it'll be really cool if Kaname is able to relate to all these kind of guys, not through, oh, well, I'm going to kind of give them a speech about, like, what they're doing is wrong, but more of like, hey, because what you're doing wouldn't really resonate with the character you're perceiving, you think that that's kind of messed up. And something like, something like the guy dressed up as Optimus Prime, like I'm not an expert on Transformers, but I know he wouldn't just go around, like, risking people for large-scale death for no reason that other than like a bad guy group. I mean, he's relatively like a good guy. I know he can kind of shift, and somebody, if he ends up watching this video, he's going to correct me exactly and lay the business on me about Optimus Prime. But I think he knows what I mean. Like, the character just going around and being like a monster on the loose, just trying to destroy everything in their path in order to capture somebody for some villain purposes. That's not really going to resonate with the character. Same thing with, well, kind of get that with Devilman in some ways. But the character right now with Kaname, I really like that kind of, not estimation, that kind of just, kind of theory with him, that kind of, just hopeful concept of what he could be. He's able to end up, like, bringing these people to right mind, not by, like, beating their wrongdoings in their head, but just like being a nerd and knowing how to connect with them on their level. I really like that idea. Other than that, there was like some nice comments. I was really curious whether or not they were going to stick with Jackman or they were going to go with Zipman, the title of the series, or Zipman was going to be like what the characters are called. Kind of like, oh, well, My Hero Academia, the powers are quirks. Black Clover uses magic and whatnot. One Piece uses devil fruits. Something where it's like, oh, it's more of a reference to where the characters get their powers. But no, the main character who, he's synced up with his brother. His brother is kind of like the intelligent guy, laying out the strategy, while Kaname is being the one to act. He's got all the physical, like, training and whatnot, all of like the kind of like mindset for taking action. And them kind of melding together, like they say, like a zipper, kind of like, combining together to create one unit, which is really cool in this the idea behind it, the concept behind the name and the character. Again, like, a lot of the ideas behind this series I really like. Like, the main character seems cool, his brother seems cool. I like their back and forth kind of synergy. But a lot of the ideas that the author has, I think, are really top-notch and hold a lot of potential. And it's going to make me really sad if the series gets axed. But after that point, you get a little note from the bad guys, and one of them ends up having a interest in China. Seeing the news, just everything that went on between Zipman and the cutie charm, guy with the suit. and they're saying like, oh well, this person would be a great addition to our party, and we're gonna, you know, enlist her to help defeat the traitor, and they're gonna use her to get close to them. You know, I think they can kind of gauge like an idea that, you know, there might be some connection between them. But other than that, I really like that. I really like that kind of idea behind the bad guy group. Like half of them seem to be references to other things. The big dinosaur I'm very curious about, and the giant creepy baby as well. But the Monoptimus Prime one is really cool. There was none of the Devilman character in the weird sauna that all of these villains were in. But other than that, like the chapter was solid. The explanation on why they're called Zipman and why the character, like the author chose Zipper as like the kind of theme instead of it just being like a weird idea. It also has like a double meaning, like, you know, two characters becoming one, you know, overlapping to become one unit, is really cool. Other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.